spite of the fact that the technology is quite exciting, it's hyped, and everybody's interested in that, I wouldn't like that other aspects of security of AI should be forgotten about, maybe those closer to us. And therefore, we are not only going to think about tomorrow, but will necessarily keep doing things that have been pain points even yesterday. And our next presenter, Alexandra, I am afraid of how to call them, NSPK or the MIA platform. She'll tell us about exciting features from the world of banking and anti-fraud.
Let us say hi to our new presenter, Alexandra. Hello, everyone. I work as a platform national payment card processing system, and we have a lot of work with financial operations, and I will be talking about social engineering and what to do when we don't have the markup, we don't have the marked data. What are the threats that we as physical and legal entities have, and what task we've been solving in our project? In our professional world, we use fraud as a main term for all the malicious acts, and often we have operations, card not present operations. When, for example, you go on the internet page, you enter the data for your card, the number, expiration date, and CVV, and then the purchase is made. Next is auto payment. Maybe you have auto payment in online banks, paying for mobile connection or your flat. Pre-authorized operations in Zone and Wildberries. If you put your card there, you get the password and you get the card data, and then the deductions will happen without the special approval. And also internet mail operations, when you follow the link to make the transaction. A little bit of history. We don't have skimming right now, but about 10 years ago, a very popular type of fraud was skimming. It was a software and hardware implementation of fraud, despite unlike what is used currently. The devices that were used were some special equipment that you put on the card reader, and the second one that you put on the keyboard. Then those devices read the data from the magnetic strip or the chip. The second device would get your PIN code, and then the malicious actor would be able to create a copy of your card. But this does not happen anymore. We got rid of it. So currently, phishing is the most popular type of fraud. Phishing pages are created. Looks very much like Contact page, right? You can get access to your resources through some redirect. But if you look into URL, it's contokle.ru, not vk.com. And by going there, you pass your account to the fraudsters. Phishing letters. A letter from PayPal looks very genuine. You have been warned about the potential loss of your funds, then you go to the actors page. If you have a look at this this is the user sending the message, so you definitely need to ignore them. Recently, when many bank applications were deleted from the application store, we had an application of one bank that you could download and input your data there. But when the user put his data there, then this account went to the actors. And a very fresh story with those electric scooters. We see malware actors putting the QR code there, and instead of the QR code on the real QR code on the scooter, the hostess will get the money. Social engineering is a very broad term. It's a set of methods for managing your actions and using your emotion. Social engineering is constantly developed. A very fast developing. Sorry. We can get some data, or we can give you a call and get some information. You will give me a 6-digit code, and then I get the access to your online bank. Previously, for many years, and nowadays, social engineering was a fast way for people to earn some money. Like you're being called on the phone with a message that your relative has got into some bad situation, or you need to protect your account. Usually, those are small transactions. And lately, all those schemes converted to more scalable, with the clients being managed and communicated to during weeks. Like, for example, authorities calling you and saying that your money are at risk and we need your help with finding the actors. For example, they tell you that they open a card for you and they tell you that you need to get that card. You get a lot of money, you have a lot of cash. Then they give you a number for the secure account. And this secure account is exactly the account that you send your money to. And of course, you lose all your money. Usually the clients have been interacted with for much bigger amount of time. What I can say here, very important to when you get a call from some people saying that something you are in danger or your relatives are in danger, you need to monitor some things like provoking your emotions, uncomfortable time, you're being pressurized, some technical mistake, like your personal manager from a central bank. Of course, it would be nice to have a personal manager in central bank, but no one has one. And based on the central bank data, 50% of the fraud was using social engineering. So it's a big portion of all the fraud, despite it being quite easy to implement. We talked about the types of fraud, and they can be split in two classes: role-based and machine learning systems. Role-based systems are a set of rules with blacklists and gray lists that are used to assess the risk of the operation. And after all the operations, the operation is either accepted or blocked as a fraud. They're easy to interpret, and the analyst can analyze what rules are blocking legitimate traffic or why the fraud operation was missed. And you can analyze it very easily. Machine learning based systems are very hard to interpret. Sometimes you can get some understanding, but to train the system to find something new is really hard. But their advantage is that the learning process is implemented there, so you can add new types of fraud and see the new fraud schemes. Often nowadays, the role-based systems include also the machine learning-based systems, and they're one of the In pure form, the machine learning systems are not currently used. Of course, you can train with the teacher, without the teacher. And when you are talking about machine learning in fraud prevention, it's binary classification, fraud and legitimate operations. So this was our task in our project. Let's have a look at how this cycle looks with the teacher on training the system to find the fraudulent transaction. In case of operations, you know what the data you have there, some specific data about the receiver and the sender, some other extra data that are calculated every month, for example, and some traits that have to do with the sender and the receiver, having to do with their behavior. After all those calculations, we have a lot of features. Putting all of them into machine learning is sometimes hard. So it's important to find the most important one. You can use your own practice or heuristical approaches, like Gini index calculation or feature importance in logistical regression. Any approach is good, but it's important that it gives you the features that contribute the most into your metrics. After that, we need to understand the correlation, because if we send the amount of transactions for the customers for last week and this week, so they correlate a lot. But the machine learning will think it's important, but it's not really. The average amount can be thousands of thousands. You need to normalize them. And when you are doing fraud prevention, you often can see one fraud operation for 10,000 legitimate ones. So if you send some set of features to machine learning, it always has a tendency to say that everything is fine, 99.9%. So to balance this, we often add either the smallest class as examples, or we remove the biggest class. Then we develop the machine learning model and assess the quality. We talked about reinforced learning, but what do we do if we don't have training? We can ask the machine learning model to separate the fraud in some specific group. Data is very noisy, such approach. So more often, those methods are used in two ways: graph-based method, like for trade companies, or free handshake theory, like if I send the money to Sasha and Sasha sends the money to Peter, then probably Peter is not cheating. Clusterization, based on the type of activity, how similar it is to the previous activity. All this can be used for improving the machine learning. In our project, we took fast payment system that uses usually less than 15 seconds for a transaction, and it's characterized by the transactions being solved immediately. Here are the operations of payment system: physical persons, consumers, operations with business, C2G payments. They are sorted, reducing the risk. So the chance of me paying to the government for some fine or something like that is usually not fraudulent. But social engineering may arise. So for our project, we chose the C2C data and researched the possibility of having social engineering, finding social engineering. So you'll ask, why do we need to develop something in that area? There's a lot of systems already developed. Many people say that yesterday's pain, not today's pain. But when we talk about the bank payment systems and bank data, we often think that the data is different. We are the client, the physical person. So if there is fraud, we usually complain to the bank. The payment system knows nothing about the end users. It works with the bank. The client are the bank. So we don't have the important part of markup and feedback on the operation. On the second part, we'll talk about not having the markup data. We tried the machine learning without reinforcement, and none of the approaches gave us significant results. We had some C2C operations, but they were not fraud. So then we thought we need to get a markup on our data. And for that, we created fraudster simulator to enrich the transaction data. It uses the data from SBP and generates the operation based on some specific rules. It uses the statistical distributions and emulates the behavior of the fraud. I'll talk about how it's been done. Three components: the fraudster, the client offering, and the third party. The fraudsters were completely generated by us. We knew that there's some fraud, but we didn't know where it is. So we needed some new fraud. We created the fraudster who would steal the money from people. So we had the victims, clients that fraudsters would be stealing money from, and known clients who have legal transactions with the fraudster. We implemented a very important thing, that is removing the money from fraudster account, because usually the fraudster would try to take all the money from the card fast until it gets blocked. Often they have a lot of cards, often have one card that they use altogether. Sometimes they can partially remove the funds using SBP, and sometimes we can just use a separate channel. We use some parameters describing the social engineering, the length of transaction. Usually those accounts are blocked. Before that, there's some operation going on. We were putting limits on the amounts, adding the maximum amount of victims for one fraudster. So a lot of parameters. We even had our own neural net that was generated, and it was checking the quality of the generation. And we checked whether it generates the output that we like. Okay, so we got the statistical data, and then we needed to generate a broader set by adding the real data and the training data. Then we put everything to feature engineering. We had a test data set and engineering data set, and we're using that to test the quality. We tried two sets of methods, unreinforced and reinforced learning, and reinforced learning was actually giving us positive results. We received the data showing that on our test data set with synthetic fraud, we were finding about 80% of fraudulent operations, with about one fraudulent per 1,000.
Мы не понимали, а реально
It's less effective.
вообще вся эта система искать или нет. Мы же научили ее синтетически
We
фроду, а реального так и не показали.
also needed to check whether the system will be able to find the real fraud. We generated the data set, the real data set that was unmarked. There was a lot of people participating in it and tested how well it works. So here are the results. With 5 blocked legal operations out of 1,000, we were able to find 54 to 60%, which is a decent result for a rule-based system.
Которая быстро проводит платежи за
SBP is a fast transaction system, 15-second MAC. So in such a system, we do need to mine the performance of the algorithm. We were testing the amount of operations per second for our algorithm, and 500 to 700,000 operations per second was the result, which is enough for us. With such development, big or small, we do need to come to implementation, and we need to understand whether the system we've created is effective. It's not 100% effective, of course, but will it cost us less than the amount of money saved? So we definitely had to model the financial efficiency of the system. Also calculated the three main parameters: probability of missing the fraudulent transaction.
И у нас будет не фар не 0,4.
We will improve from 0.4 to 0.3. And we also took into account the current amount of fraud in the system, which is 0.7.
Что если раньше мы теряли вот некоторое
So we understood that previously we had a specific amount of loss, that with the system,
мы сохраним
even taking into account that the system is not 100% effective, we will save up to 21% of the money for the client, which is a good result, I think. What else can we say about this? The most important part is that we've created that simulator for synthetic data that used both the real data and generated the fraudulent data. Gradient boosting with light GBM was the winner, showed the highest efficiency in such tasks, or 0.46 and FRR of 0.005. We generated about 500,000 transactions per second. We used about half a year of statistical data. Less is not recommended because we need to track the statistical usage of both the system and the recipient. Well, the outcome, we think that those methods are effective. Reinforced learning is recommended. You can also define the fraud using non-reinforced learning, but it's very hard. We got some synthetic fraud input that was helpful in actually training the model. Financial operations are a very sensitive point, so finding such data in an open world is hard. So with synthetic data, you can actually train your models. And we think that using our model will reduce the amount of fraud by 1.5%. Thank you.
Вас беспокоит служба безопасности.
Не беспокойтесь только.
Да, да.
Urban Security Service calling you. Don't worry. We're ready to answer some questions. We have a lot of time for questions.
Самым
So if you have an opportunity, tell us about the most funny fraud that you saw.
И подарочки, поэтому достанется не только
Yeah, the guys have prepared specific gifts, so not only the T-shirts, but also some other stuff. So you need to prepare your question, definitely.
да.
Okay, so we see question here.
За доклад. Такой
Hi, thanks for your presentation. There's a question.
Ну, хорошо.
Yeah, a funny story for you.
Не со мной, а с бабушкой. Недавно ей позвонили.
Recently, my grandma got a call from the prosecutor's office.
Там сын сейчас...
They told her that my mom got into car incident and asked her to spend some specific amount of money to compensate for the damages. Of course, my grandma called me, and we were able to solve this misunderstanding. It's funny, but this is at the same time scary. The question:
Ну, выявлено фрод.
Did I get it right that you were optimizing the amount of fraudulent transactions, not the volume of those transactions, right? Because I think the economic impact is important. So, you know,
Да, да, менее целесообразно, чем...
catching a small amount fraud is less important than catching a multi-million fraud transaction. Yeah, when we were calculating the economic efficiency, we were definitely taking the amount into position, and we knew the average level of amount of fraud and how much do you need to steal for you not to be watched, not to be looked on. No, I think we had a couple of cases like that, and often the fraudsters will have the fraudulent card, but the card will be blocked, but the fraudster will not be found. So the cost analysis, I think it's an endless story, and you can, you know, stay for a really long time in this business. Talking about the feature in the vendor monitoring system, often the analyst has an option to create features.
Там, в месяц, условно, это очень оптимистично.
In such a case, for the models that, for example, are updated once a month, they will be lagging
По некоторым...
compared to the fraudsters because they will not have specific features, some specific combinations of features. Of course, to modify any system, role-based or ML, you need to constantly analyze the data. You need a team of people working to create analytics and understanding what is happening. Using the same features to train the ML, you can hope for it to find something, but of course, you need to be constantly modifying your training set.
Добрый день, спасибо за доклад.
Hi, thanks for the presentation.
Пенсионеры...
Funny story. Had a senior citizen being called for
Ну, вы говорили, что вам нужно было быстрое решение, да, и...
by the fraudsters at not having any money. So talking about the features, what was your eyes of the feature set, and can you give us some examples of those features?
Давай порядок.
Давай самый какой-нибудь.
Well, this is the sensitive question. We had about 150 features, algorithm to algorithm. This number will vary. Can be 100 to 200, can be 60 if they are very good. I'm very good analyst, finding the best features. But the average, average transaction, average amount of transactions are the most important, probably.
Здесь ряд участников.
Let's pause the mic.
Да.
Здравствуйте, спасибо вам большое за доклад.
Hi, thanks. And talking about funny stories, I got a call about a year ago, talked to them for 15 minutes. I hanged up, and the fraudsters called me and told me I'm too smart. So that was, was fun. So two questions. We know that the dropper accounts are used to
Сумма аккумулируется на этом счете, прежде чем со счета начинать.
withdraw the money from the system. So two questions. First, what is the average amount that is accumulated on such account? And second, what is the average transaction that is successfully removed from the account? Usually, all the transactions are immediately removed from the account, because if you stole some money at 12 o'clock, and till the end of the day, you have an opportunity to cancel this transaction. But after the banking day, usually it's very hard to do. So the faster you remove the money, the better. Yeah, so those are devices for hackers. Well, hello. My question is, I had a not so funny story working for a central bank. It was called by some people calling me and saying they are from the central bank, and I was pretty sure those are my colleagues. The question: did you have in the fast transaction system cases with the attack being targeting the company, with a person calling the customer and asking to put in some patch so that all operations go not to the bank but to the fraud? Did you have such attacks?
В целом.
How possible is it?
Я отвечу, как сейчас принято. Я
Well, let me give you an answer that is very popular. I cannot both confirm or decline that we had such operations. Well, I was in a cafe where they just had a QR code for the payments. So putting your own QR code would definitely be an attack.
Говорить не буду. Они
I had a person who got a call and said, that, yeah, I know you are the fraudsters, but they scared him by actually saying that they are taking a loan.
иметь
The
признак.
question:
И как вы с этим работаете? И как бы
how do you process the fact that subscribers' phone number is being changed and used by the
какую-то чистку, обогащение данных мы, конечно,
fraudsters? Well, the banks are our client, not the customer. So we don't have any data about any of you, and whatever the bank has given to us, that we use. Okay, we need some help here.
И дальше там в конце зала тоже есть вопрос.
Да, добрый день. Смешная история. Позвонил.
Hello. Funny story. I had a call from the prosecutor's office naming the criminal article, which was the software piracy. It was
Классификация, вдруг попадет.
it was fun. Of course, we understood it. But the question: in your presentation, you said that the efficiency of the synthetic data is 80%, but for the real data, you had lower. What do you think is the reason? Well, we trained the system on a synthetic fraud. You can use a lot of analytics and personal data that you get from colleagues, for example, to model the behavior of the fraudster, but the real behavior will differ. So the synthetic data are not real. And if you get good result on synthetic data, the result with the real data is often pretty much always worse. Had a lot of questions at that side of the hall.
Мошенники.
Did you get any calls from the fraudster? Yeah, I think I'm not behaving the right way because usually I just hang up. But I think it would be interesting not to wait till you are being, hanged up on, but when they call you to work for them. Well, the next funny story, we had a call from the tax office. I told them they're the fraudster and hanged up. But they were a real tax office. Question. You used synthesized data. It means that there were moments when synthetic data could not describe the real cases, real fraud cases. I think during your work you were able to somehow find the fraud cases that were missed. How did you generate the new synthetic data to cover fraud? Well, when we generate the data, we added schemes that were received and generated by our experts. We had analysts working with fraud. We got the data that showed us how it looks. And usually, based on that, knowing that the fraudster's card lives for 3 days usually, and it will not exist after 3 days. In one bank, in the other bank, of course, it may continue to exist. Of course, we missed some things. We did not have the feedback on the data. And after our synthetic fraud analysis, we got 80%. We used the real data. We had the list of potential frauds with all the cases and all the operations being analyzed. We were looking at them and even talking to the banks that wanted to tell us something. Tell you the truth, synthetic data is a very popular topic, and today we'll have a presentation about generating synthetic data with very high accuracy. Thank you.
Александре посоветовал бы фиксировать.
My advice to Alexander was to remember the questions, to not forget about the gifts. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I was called by the security office of Sberbank to check the transactions. I work there, so I talked to my colleagues. No one called me. And of course, that was the end of it. Question. It's important to monitor the degradation rate of this model. What did you choose to monitor? Analyst recheck or incident expectations?
На самом деле мы больше делаем мониторинг.
How do you support the quality? Well, actually, we monitor the features more, how they evolve with time. If the distribution changes significantly, then it's often the reason to think whether this feature is still important now. Yeah, data-driven. Hello, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Now the story, we went to congratulate a friend. It was a surprise. We had 10 people standing in front of his door. And one of the relatives was congratulating also. A friend was talking to the fraudsters who told him that, people will be now, breaking into your room and taking money from you. So the grandma went and spilled some milk on us. So two questions. First question is about the trend. I talked about the anti-fraud, D2C. What are trends there? Do the fraudsters use better script,
чтобы как-то более...
mobilization, some other event that help them improve the efficiency? And the second question about social engineering. What are the trends there? Because I think, as far as I know, there's a lot of organizations being hacked because of the email gateway was compromised.
Так, первый вопрос. Тенденции в социальной
Well, first question, social engineering trends. Currently, the most current trends are being used. Currently, one situation is important, and it, of course, needs to be monitored because social engineering messes with our head. You can be very educated, great specialist, but in the moment when, for example, you're told that your mom is in danger, you need to, fund an operation, you do send the money because it's scary. And any modern operation, any modern situation that is scary, that that is important to people will be used. Organizational social engineering is not my cup of tea. Of course, you need to train your employees. You need to retrain them if they use it. Open your phishing email. Yeah, we have question. Time for another question. Thank you for your presentation. A funny story. I was called by a colonel from FSB, so I decided to talk to him. Of course, I invented all the information. And in 20 minutes, all my cards were blocked, probably because they were recording my voice, and they used it to talk to the bank that I was a client of. Yeah, I have a great bank. Well, don't talk to the fraudsters if you're not sure about your funds being 100% protected. A question about generative model. What was it, and what task did you generate the data for? Did you generate it with some markup or some activity? Just some activity data. And the second part, if it was a GAN, was it deciding between the real and not real? Well, I'm not an architect. I won't be able to go deep into details, but we use the GAN and we use the marked data. So we got both the fraud and legal operations. Great. Now for this question, and let's decide which questions were the best. I did like the question from the guy in the white shirt. And let's also give to the last guy a prize because I could not answer his question. Thanks to Alexander. Thanks.